Prepper King coming back to you with another informational video on the Prepper King channel. There is chatter out there of a nationwide blackout, and I've seen it on numerous sites and numerous YouTube channels that I've been going through that run the prefaces, big word there, of a huge blackout. And if you want to see my other video, my last video on our utility companies, how vulnerable they are, which they are, what would that mean? I mean, just imagine. Imagine if there was a nationwide blackout for even just a week. You know, I remember the blackout we had here and back in 2000, what was it, 3, and it was out for 3 days, and what happened after that. But after a week or 2 weeks, and they're talking about 18 months of a nationwide blackout, imagine what would happen if you're not prepared. You know, just imagine your neighbors next to you, and they're, a lot of your neighbors don't have anything. They don't have more than 3 days of food in their house. They have no way to run their sump pumps. They have no way to stay warm in the wintertime. All these different things. And how would you handle that? I don't know how I would handle that. You don't really know something till it comes upon you. And you got people knocking at your door eventually asking for food. And I watched this movie last night, and I want you guys to see this movie. It's free. It's on Tubi. It's called Dragon Day. And it's made in 2014, and how prolific. Some of it's far-fetched, but a lot of it is so prolific of what is going on today. It's like they almost predicted the future in this movie. And not to be a spoiler or anything, that this movie takes place in the Southwest, near Mexico. So what happens is our government, with the bond market, China started selling their bonds to raise cash, and we couldn't give them the money for it. So China retaliates by shutting down everything in the United States by the chips, the microchips that they put in all the computers and all the cars and all the radios and all the phones, and all those chips were made in China. And they had just shut it down. They had some way of going in and shutting down all these chips. Now, I don't want to go in and ruin the movie, what happens in it. They retaliate because they couldn't get their money back. And isn't it crazy how this movie was in 2014, and it was all about the bond market and China selling their bonds, and they couldn't get their money from their bonds. So who knows how the grid will go down? Could it be Iran, something up their sleeve, or any country, or just some plain old hacker that just wants to, take down America? With the electronic age that we're in, things have really gotten to a point whereas it's just like a stroke of a computer key, and they can get in and do something. But imagine 18 months without power, without communications, and all that. Your neighbors that you are near you, they're going to go through a lot. And how would you handle that? You got to think about that. And I do. And I would stay low, and until you're gonna need help. You're gonna need neighbors. You're gonna need some kind of way to get together and work out a plan on how to survive certain things, because just like in this movie, there's going to be rogues coming around, coming after you and stuff like that, And then being a senior like me, or, if you're a senior, how do you handle it? But if you had to lock your door tomorrow, and I think that if you are prepared and have ways to get through certain situations, be in a grid down situation, if you have certain things in your house to get past a month and a half, your chances of survival go way up if you go a month and a half during a grid down situation. Because by then, everybody's acclimated to what is going on. It's going to weed out a lot of the people that didn't prepare properly. But if you have a starving child next to you, and you know that they're going to probably perish if you don't help them, I'm going to help them. I'm going to help that person. I'm going to help that child. I'll help the children before I help the parents, but I'd help them too. Because at my age, it's a situation where I'd want to help, to get through, because, I'm in a big area. I don't have too many neighbors, and I know my neighbors. And that's another thing you should do. You should get to know your neighbors. Because if you don't know your neighbors, you don't know what to expect when a certain situations hit. You might find out. They might come knocking at your door one day when they only have 2 or 3 days worth of food in their house. And the biggest thing about this movie that I implore you, Dragon Day, that you should think, you'll have a new love affair with water. Let me put it that way. Because I even got up and got myself a drink of water, because it just goes to show you how you need a water prep. And I know some of these things in this movie is a little far-fetched, but you got to watch it. How things are going to play out if the grid's down for 18 months? Not good. Not good. Things that we got going good for America is a lot of people are armed and have ways of protecting themselves. So if you have neighbors, I tell you, 2 out of 3 of your neighbors have some kind of firearm. And you can gather together and work out a situation where you hunker down and become a community of a resilient type community that can get through certain situations. And that's where the rice and beans comes in. Because you could have, canned goods and stuff like that you can keep for yourself. But if you got bags of rice and a lot of dried beans, there's your handout to people. There's your, say, here's some rice and beans, or some dried potatoes or whatever. That's your contribution. I gave you rice and beans. That's all I got. Tell them that's all I have left. And then you are helping them because you're giving them substance, and they'll appreciate that. And so don't think you're going to get through a situation of a grid down situation for 18 months without having community. You might for the first, few weeks, but eventually it's all going to come to an head, and you'll see houses burning down your street, and you'll have eventually looters come through and think your house is a store, and they'll come and loot you. So have a plan for that. Have a alarm system. Have work out within your community that you have. Work out a security plan, and have a warning system that what's coming on. Because if you don't, you'll become you'll become dust in a grid down situation. You'll become dust. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, right? So that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. There is chatter out there. Get ready for it. Do your due diligence. Whatever you do, get ready for a major grid down situation. If whatever you can do, whatever you can muster to get extra food, extra water, a way to purify water, a way to secure your house, a way to protect yourself, a sanitation plan, which is very important. Make sure you have a sanitation plan in order. Go visit some videos. Go online and find out how you can get a sanitation plan. Because I've done that. And there's plenty of videos out there that can teach you to do it. And having knowledge in the background in your head and know what to do when the situation happens, you'll come on the other side. You'll be on the other side of that month and a half. And you'll get to the end. And you'll get to better times. A reset is coming. No matter a grid down power outage for a long time, a financial reset of some sort, a war of some sort that's coming to our homeland, there is a reset gonna happen. Hopefully not in my lifetime, in your lifetime, but it might happen. And there's a really good chance it might happen. I am the Prepper King. Like and subscribe to my channel. I need more subscribers to bring you more videos like this. Peace to you, peace to your family, and hey, and always rock on.